Thank you, Sikhle. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our final episode of our PGCE Roadmap for Change webinar series. Today, we have the absolute pleasure of hosting the University of Johannesburg and for them to tell us a little bit more about their programmatic offering and a little bit more as to what would be the best option of studying at UJ. And you are warmly welcomed. My name is Carla Watson, and I'm head of the Graduate Teaching Fellowship Intake. In other words, if you are thinking about doing your PGCE at the University of Johannesburg and you're a Jakes Gerwel Candidate Fellow, you are under my stewardship, and I'm very excited that you are here. Now, it's important for us to realize that we've been doing quite a bit of work with a particular name. And the name we've been using, or the name of our scholarship, is the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship. And the picture on the screen is the picture of the late Prof. Jakes Gerwel. And some of us wonder about why in particular have we chosen to take on Prof. Gerwel as a namesake. There are a number of reasons, but the three most important ones are he was an intimate senior advisor to the former President Nelson Mandela. And he was an incredible anti-apartheid activist. And that combination in itself is worthwhile why we should have his name, but it gets more interesting. We are part, as Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, we are part of something called the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation Endowment. And Prof. Gerwel was the very first chair of the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation's board, back when they just started. And for me, as a teacher myself, my biggest claim and my biggest support of Prof. Gerwel's impact in South Africa is that he was a high school teacher at Grassy Park High in the Western Cape region. Prof. Gerwel's vision for South Africa and the impact of his life has served so many people, and we are continuing that spirit in partnership with, of course, the Gerwel family and the legacy of the late Prof. Gerwel. Now, it's Thursday today, and we've been running a full webinar series since Monday. On Monday, we had the University of Pretoria. On Tuesday, we had the University of Cape Town. Yesterday, we had the University of Witwatersrand, and today we have the University of Johannesburg. And if you're here today, it is likely that you want to or are considering to study at the University of Johannesburg. And that's exactly what this hour is for you to make a decision about where you want to complete your PGCE. Now, it's particularly important for you to also realize that you are making a great decision. Respectfully, if you study at any of the universities on the screen, your decision to become a teacher, a high school teacher, is already commendable. And today I'd like you to learn a bit more, of course, about what the University of Johannesburg has to offer. But of course, we are communities. We are not alone or siloed. And if you know or think of or feel like there's somebody else that would benefit from this information from today or from any of the episodes from this week, I encourage you to look on the screen, see the social media handle, screenshot, whatever, and make sure that you let people know via Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube, where all the recordings of our episodes will be. So even if you're sitting here and you go, flip, I haven't been able to tell someone to attend, do not worry. It will be on YouTube, where likely a much larger audience will engage with the content today. You'll hear from me a little bit later, but for now, I'm going to hand over to my incredible colleague, Siwa Sebeko, who is a program officer at the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship. And she will be your host for the rest of the session before I chat to you a little bit more a bit later. Over to you, Siwa.
Nkosi kakhulu Carla, a warm welcome to everyone who has joined us today. As uKhala echilo, igama lami ndinguSiwa Sebeko, uMagadebo umthimkhulu Ndlebe Enhle Zombini, uzalelwe eMpuma Koloni. So if you're connecting from Empuma Koloni, Molom Kaya. Today I'll be hosting the University of Johannesburg. I am excited for them to share what they offer in their PGCE program. We are going to be joined by Dr. J.K. Bachelor and two candidate fellows from the University of Johannesburg. If you have any questions, please make sure that you drop them on the chat. Someone will answer to your questions. But before we can do anything, let me give you an overview of what we're going to be doing today. We're having an application process overview by Dr. Bachelor, and we're having tips from our UJ candidate fellows, Charlotte Magwa, Nompela Koho, who happen to be my candidate fellows, and I'm their program officer. That's nice. And we will have a question and answer session to your questions. Some will be answered on the chat and some will be answered live. Thank you, Sihle. Can we continue? So at JGF, we believe that world and education sphere will be changed by a very smart and overperforming individuals. So we know that where you are now, there is that particular teacher that believed in you when maybe sometimes you did not believe in yourself. Now, I want you on the chat to tell me about who was your favorite teacher and the reason or reasons why that particular teacher was your favorite teacher. Hala, you can help me with the answers as they come through. I know they do take some time to come, so I'll give it a few seconds.
Absolutely, Siwa, no problem. I've got the chat open. I think for those of us who are dialing in from Cape Town, the cold has slowed down our typing. So nothing's come through yet. I say go ahead, and then if something pops up, I'll come and let you know.
Okay, no problem, Kala. Oh,
one just popped in. Thank you, Sihle. Mrs. Klaba from Menzie High School, my former English teacher. She exemplified the excellence she taught. Thank you, Sihle.
Thank you so much, Sihle. Nkosi kakhulu. I promised earlier that we have guests, and now I would like to bring on the screen our special guest, Dr. Jacqueline Bachelor, who's a program manager in the initial teacher education. Dr. Bachelor is known to be an innovative teacher, not just an innovative teacher, internationally recognized innovative teacher. She will tell you more about that and what they offer at UJ. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you much, Siwa, for the opportunity to chat to the Jake Cyphals fellowships and to share a little bit about what it means to be part of the UJ family. And so I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. You can share your screen so long, but because we have that famous question that we like to ask from people, I would want to ask you, who was your favorite teacher and why?
You know what, I need to confess, I did anticipate this question, and it's been racking my brain. I've been racking it for a few days now, and I don't have a specific teacher. I think it is because I was a teacher myself for 21 years, and I think all the best qualities of my teachers actually melded together, and you begged and borrowed a little bit from this. You took a little bit of compassion from that and understanding from here, the little sternness from that one, the little bit of this one that was available after hours, you know, on the sports field. So for me, it's just an amalgamation of all of these fabulous people that put you on a path to. So I almost want to say you create an identity of the super teacher almost in your mind. So for me, all of them, I can't actually pick one of them. I just put them all together into one. So so maybe for me, it's not just an individual, but it's more of a feeling of a warmness when I think back to my teachers. So I don't have a specific one, Siwa. So sorry about that.
That's totally fine, Doctor. Obviously, you are an innovator and kind of expected that answer. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing, and you can share your screen and continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So whilst I'm navigating the technicalities of sharing, I want to almost say that I want to take you on a journey today. And the journey that I want to take you on is what it actually means to be at UJ and to be part of this UJ family. You know, at UJ, we are a massive, massive university. We have more than 50,000 students on our 4 different campuses. So it's quite easy to be one of the students that can disappear into this mass. So we go to a lot of trouble to make you feel part of this UJ family. So this is an information session for me to tell you a little bit about UJ itself. And I want to also go from the point of departure that all of you that are interested in PGC, you are graduates. You have graduate attributes. You can process information at a rapid speed. That's one of the graduate attributes that I value so highly. And therefore, I'm not going to read particularly from what is on the screen, but I'll just cover things here and there because I don't want to overwhelm you by reading and speaking the same words. But at UJ, we have a particular vision. We want to be your university of choice because we are anchored here in Africa. You will note from the offerings that we have, we value UJ, specifically we value the imagination that comes forth from our continent, to the regeneration of ideas, to bring that into a space that is inclusive of all of us. Now, I'm using all of these words, but we can actually put action to these. So usually we've got a very dynamic website. And the website, and I think it's because we've been on a journey of blended learning now for the past few years prior to COVID. So for us, the transition during the pandemic wasn't too shocking or too extreme. And it was just a small shift for us to go forward. So we have, we try, as I said, very hard to be the university as a family, to demonstrate the care to each of our students. And I think we, specifically in the Faculty of Education, we try and model what we expect our future teachers to be like when they go into the profession. So as we said, that last little comment there, study in the vibrant city of gold, the hub of South Africa. This is the hip and happening place, by the way. So I think it's important for you to also recognize that we lead in Africa. Yes, in the past few days, I was listening to the other presentations of the other webinars of the other universities, and I was reflecting on, that we're not in competition with each other. Even though there's rankings and everything, we all work together for the betterment of our people, and specifically through education. So even though we are ranked quite highly, and there are quite a number of ranking systems, but we're quite proud to be on the Shanghai ranking system. We are very proud to be within the top 300 universities in the world, but particularly in the global ranking for academic subjects. We are the first in South Africa and the first in Africa as a faculty. So we're very proud of that achievement. We have also a very forward-thinking perspective at UJ. All of our students, immaterial, or whether you are education faculty student or an engineering student or an arts student, there are 2 short learning programs that every student at UJ must complete. One of them is African Insights, because it's very important for us that a UJ graduate recognize the appreciation of the deep sense of belonging that we have to this continent, but also how do we confront and respond to all the problems that face us as just as and I'm now struggling for words here, but how do we, as a society, how do we function as a society in South Africa, but in Africa, to recognize our heritage? So this is one of the really important short learning programs that we have. And so as an education ed student, you are going to have to do this short learning program. And I think that's a really important grounding that we give all of our students across the board. And then always to be very forward looking. And so the other thing that we all have to do is a short learning program on artificial intelligence in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And for us in education, this is really a problem, because increasingly now we are confronted by the notion that teachers can be replaced by learning technologies and applications, and you can learn, why do we need a teacher? So we, in our PGCE program, as well as the undergraduate program, we grapple with this notion of what does a robot teacher look like? What kind of, and we actually published a recent article where we deliberated that notion. We had a competition, I think last year, beginning of last year, where we asked this to our all of our students, what qualities will this robot teacher have? Is it possible to replace a teacher? What are the things that a robot teacher will be able to do for us that a teacher won't be able to do? And it was really fascinating to get that feedback from students and also to prepare them to start thinking about the future of education. What is it going to demand of us? How do we overcome the ethical issues that might confront us? How do we then, guide our students not to cheat the system almost through, exporting an essay to be written somewhere else and presenting it as your own work almost. So it's important for us to really make sure that all our students, not just education students, have a real understanding of, what are these opportunities, but also the implications for artificial intelligence in the workplace. And I include education there as well. So a little bit about who we are. And you will find this everywhere on our website. We have a specific institutional culture that we promote, this whole sense of being part and responsible for the development of each other, for yourself and for others. The cultural transformation that is embedded in all of our initiatives, gender equality, diversity, inclusion, and also to enable leadership going forward. So for us, this underpins our approach basically to all of what we do, whether it is attending a reading in the library, or whether it is participating in a workshop, whether it is sitting in a student center. For us, this is really important. And there's even a pledge that we have for our students, where if they see something happening in injustice, they observe it, that they need to act on it, not just be passive and observe it. And I think that's an important lesson for us as future teachers, that sense of agency, that leading role that you need to play going forward. So I think this is important for us. And then also we like to look after our students. Health and well-being is important for us, and it's important for students to understand that they are taken care of, not just their emotional and social well-being, but also their physical state. So I just included a little bit in there. And then, of course, when it comes to studies, we recognize that our postgraduate students, they might have been out of university for some time. We find that the applicants are much more mature. They've been out in the world of work for a few years. They come back and they want to pursue a teaching career because they developed an affinity for it, or a love for it, or an appreciation for it through being exposed to other places in the workplace. And so we do recognize that they need additional support. So we have available academic skills, personal skills. You can see there's a list of them, and as you click on each of those, there's some drop downs and some support material available. But then also literacy, reading skills. We find that that students that have been out of the system, they forget what is academic writing all about. How do you present a concise argument? How do you negotiate and contest ideas in a neutral space? So for us, that is also one of the important skills that we want to promote. And then, of course, we've got our social media. This is one of our UJ influencers, Ruth Matlazi. You can follow her on Twitter, on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. She's all over the place. And she is one of the UJ Faculty of Education's social media influencers. So if you want to know what's happening at UJ, specifically in the space, then she is the person that you need to follow. She's also, by the way, our tutor coordinator. And so I just thought I'll put that out there. Right. Then now I go into the PGCE specific things and what it is to be a teacher. And I included both of these, just these screenshots, because quite often when we speak about teaching, we don't look to 30, 40 years from now. We become teachers for now, for going into school next year. So we focus on the what is in front of us instead of looking further down the road. And for us, it's important to look further, to promote that lifelong learning philosophy, to foreground self-development, professional development up front, to recognize that we can only equip you up to a certain point in our teacher qualifications, that it is a partnership with schools as you go forward as a novice teacher. So quite often the department or teachers look back on the university and say, you didn't do a good enough job because these teachers don't know how to discipline learners in the schools. And then we will say, but you know what? It's a partnership between these teachers that are working in practice in schools and universities, and both of us need to work together to support the young teachers that are coming through the system. But what we want our teachers to be is to be critically reflective, accountable, to be caring, to ask the pertinent questions, and to be able to teach in diverse contexts, because those contexts are, we can't prepare teachers just for one type of school. So you need to be able to roll with the punches and make a plan as you go along. Right, so a little bit about the PGCE information. And again, I'm going to rely on your graduate attributes to go to these different websites yourself, to look through the booklet. And even though I've taken some screen grabs from the booklet, I'm going to expect you to read this and to determine, do I meet the entry requirements or not? And if I don't, then next step, what do I do about it? But the last thing I want you to do is to apply if you don't meet those requirements. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. So a little bit about the program. And if you've read a little bit about the PGCE, I'm sure you have read, and let me trust that you have read. There's two different pathways into teaching in a high school. The one is to teach both subjects on an FET level, which means from grade 10 to 12, or one on FET, grade 10 to 12, and the other one on senior phase level. So you've got two choices of entry into that space, depending on your undergraduate qualification. If you've had two majors on third year level, then straightforward into FET. If you had one third major on third year level, and the other one maybe on first year, then it's a combination. And let's just look through that. But for us, what is important, and I actually put these bullets in here for a reason, because if you're teaching high school, it's critical for you to understand adolescent development, the mind of a teenager. How do they think? Why are they behaving in a specific way? How do you engage with them? Because if you don't understand this adolescent and their own stages of development, you are going to be struggling as a teacher, because they to me, sometimes I almost want to say they're not human yet, but they're getting there. And through your guidance and your shaping, you develop an appreciation for them, and you help them appreciate each other. So I want to actually foreground, it's for us, the schooling context is important, the subject matter is important, but we also recognize that as a graduate, you already have a deep content knowledge that you can rely on. What you need now for us to give you, or not to give, because you're not this empty vessel, but for you to recognize that the how and the what and the why becomes important. How do I work with this teenager or this adolescent that has got still developmental issues that they're going through? How do we get them to learn? How do we engage with them to create that sense of excitement about the subject matter? And how do we get them to then apply their knowledge in a new way? So I think that is for us why this is so important. And that's why that reflective stance, to interrogate your own practice and come back to it and then move forward. And I think that's important. If I look at the program itself, you can do it either full-time or part-time. Quite often we do have some of our students already practicing teachers. They're employed by schools, but they don't have a qualification as PGCE yet. So they're practicing in schools and they're doing it part-time. So that's why our programs run after hours, or not after hours, I want to say after school hours. It starts at 3:30 and run till 5 in the afternoon, most of the offerings, and sometimes they go into the evening. But we don't have it normally in the morning hours during school time. That is the 2 years. So if you're already teaching or working full-time, you must do it over 2 years. You cannot do it full-time. That's one of the pre-requirements. The only limitation here is if you are working full-time and you're not working in a school. The limitation here is that you must set 10 weeks aside to go for work integrated learning. And it's very difficult sometimes for people to ask for leave during that time. And that's why we hesitate to then encourage you to actually do a PGCE if you will not have the time for work integrated learning. All right. So there's a few subjects, and I want to pause on the one. There's one of the rows here. It says excursion. Now this is something that we did pre-pandemic, and we're actually quite sad not to have been able to do that last year or this year. We used to have an excursion where we take all the PGCs away for a weekend, and we bring in consultative teachers, and we work with these students. Um, uh, and we stay up all night almost, and we interrogate all these different little things that we puzzle us and confront us in this whole journey of becoming a teacher. But so this is one of my really sad things that I'm missing at the moment. We also have a winter school for the pre-service teachers, specifically PGCE, where we then bring consultative teachers in. They work closely with them. And we move through that. And I recognize the reason why people are popping up now is probably because I need to speed up. Okay, so let me just quickly flip through these, because all of this information is available on the book, this booklet. So there's a knowledge mix that we speak of, the mix of disciplinary knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, practical knowledge, situational learning. And that is the reason why you have got one of the modules is teaching and education studies, where we work through these whole, everything about the adolescent learner, but also educational policies, classroom management. And I just want to flag classroom management as one of the big issues that our PGCE students specifically struggle with, because they haven't had all these years of work integrated learning as the undergraduates, BEds, would have had. So they get it condensed. So quite often they go into the first work integrated learning session, and they come out and their eyes are this big. They get such a fright, and they think, is this what teaching is about? How am I going to be doing this with these adolescents? So classroom management is one of these things that we really need to pay attention to and help coach them through that. We just want to put a disclaimer in here as well. And it is not sufficient for you just to meet the entry requirements. So don't get excited. You meet the entry requirements. Oh, yippee, I'm going to apply. I'm going to get accepted. We last year had more than 10,000 applications for only 220 positions. Let that just sink in for a moment. Right? It's an enormous. We stopped actually screening after 6,000. We couldn't screen anymore. It was just not possible. So I've got a slide in here somewhere where I say time is of the essence. You need to time. Don't wait too long to apply to the PGCE. Do it as soon as possible, so that at least your application can be screened, and we can check whether you meet the entry requirements. So what you need to do is you need to exceed the entry requirements if possible. We look at, because we need to differentiate between good candidates or suitable candidates, we look at other criteria as well, such as the number of years that it took for you to complete a qualification. We could look at your marks that you've achieved within these areas of specialization. Specifically, the one area of psychology. We have opened up again the life orientation as one of the offerings, but the caveat there is that you must have an average of 65% in psychology, 1, 2, and 3, to actually be able to be considered for that, because we want to build a bridge and a pathway to articulate to the postgraduate diploma in teacher education. So we create a path here for future educational psychologists. So don't just see the PGCE as an exit point, but see it as maybe an entry point to a different pathway to a career. So I think that is important. Just understand that. And then also just a disclaimer here that if we don't receive enough applications in a specific subject area, then it's not viable for us to present that. But what we will do, we will then advise the students then that have succeeded in that application, then what are the possible alternatives. And then I want to just point out that there are 6 areas of specialization with the SP and FET phases. There are packages in each of these. And when you apply, you're going to not just apply for PGCE, you have to apply in the package of your choice. So it also helps us with our screening mechanism. So you need to apply, and I've got some examples here. So if you are applying, say, for instance, in the commerce package, I think this is the, yes, this is a commerce package. And it's a bit small, but again, the booklet is available on the website. Use your graduate attributes and go and read it. But it makes it quite clear here that you must have then 1 or 2 or a combination of various subjects on third year level. Example, business management is accepted, but not management. So there's all of these little caveats. So it's important for you to understand these. In the FET phase, then you need to have 2 subjects on third year level. And again, we've got a few packages there. The life orientation, commerce, mathematics, history, and the life orientation. And here's just an example of the combinations. So quite often, a lot of them, we don't offer many subjects, but we do offer many combinations of subjects that you can take. So this is just an example. And then it gets quite technical and complex, such as the physical science or the mathematics packages. But the physical science specifically is that you must have physics and chemistry, one of them at least up to third year level, and the other one. So you can't just have chemistry or physics. The same with life sciences. You can't just have botany or zoology. You must have at least one of them up to first year level. So it becomes very technical. You can appreciate if we're screening an academic record to look for those places. So I want to, I'm always at the end, and everybody would be relieved about this, I'm sure. But what is expected of the teachers when they go, all these, I want to say future teachers, yes, when they go to school. And I think it's already been highlighted that we see you as a teacher when you are walking into that school. You fulfill the role of a teacher, and therefore you need to adhere to the SACE code of conduct, the school policy, the individual school policy, whether it is the code of conduct at the school, whether it's the formal dress policy, whether it is university regulations, the code of conduct as for you as a work integrated student. All of that applies to you because you are already then in service of the learners that are in front of you. So we need to recognize that you're not just a student anymore. You are actually then have the status of a teacher. So that's important. I just wanted to highlight, if you are not interested, if you're not a graduate yet, there are other undergraduate offerings, and you can actually go and look at the Effective Education's booklet that has got specific the information of the education offerings. But then also there's other, the brochure, the UJ brochure. The question that we often get is, what will I be teaching? Because at UJ, you cannot teach without 2 subjects. We encourage you to, as far as possible, to have 2 FET, but if not possible, 1 FET, 1 senior phase. So we've already gone through what you will be teaching here. And the reason for that is because it makes you more marketable and more employable. Quite often what we find is that if a student only has 1 subject, then it takes them far longer to be employed than it is when they have more than the 1 subject. And that is the reason why we are going here. The prospectus, as I said, the online prospectus, that is for across the university. Go and have a look at that. It's interesting reading. So even not for yourself, then maybe somebody else you know and can help. That's part of being a change agent, to empower the people around you and to look after them. So take them by the hand, let them look through the booklet. They don't all have to be teachers, but they can be something else. They can contribute to society. So I think it's important. And then also, if you social media, go and look at the UJ Twitter handle, official Twitter handle. And this was just one of the tweets. And here it says, "Hi UJ family," because we are a family here at UJ. And it gives you the links here. Just if you want to study here at UJ, there's little links to specific issues like a digital assistant. There's online programs that you could do. So at least go and follow the University of Joburg's formal Twitter handle. A lot of information is there. So I've already taken you through the website. I'm not going to take you through the live one, but you can actually, this is just a screen grab from our website, and you can click on this. What do you need to do before you actually apply at UJ? What must you get ready? These important dates, you need to apply as soon as possible now. If you haven't done so, do so now. But it does close on the 30th of September. But as I said, there are thousands that apply for PGCE. So be as forthcoming as possible. And then I just wanted to put that out here. If your school or the school that you know in your area or whatever wants to have UJ visit their school, to come and tell them a little bit about UJ, like our marketing department, then you can actually book it through this site to tell them, do you want to come to a pianist evening or information session or whatever. So you can actually go and book here on our website for to invite UJ to your school. Of course, we can't fly to Cape Town, but we will we will come to, yes. So I thought that was a brilliant idea. And then, of course, we've got the career guidance stuff here at UJ. Everything from campus life through to whatever. So applying at UJ, there's a checklist. You need to have certain things in order before you apply. Make sure you've certified all your copies. Make sure that the scanned files are not bigger than a certain kilobytes. The documents, as I said, must be uploaded as separate documents. So don't scan it as one long PDF. Scan it as separate documents, etc. And we've already mentioned the closing date because we said time matters. It's important to act quickly. All right, and then as I said, there's lots of information for you. You just need to use your graduate voice and to go and look for this. Navigate once you register, and this is the other caveat I need to tell you. We accept more candidates than there are space for. And the reason for that is that people change their mind, they find employment between applying at UJ and being accepted, and then between registration. So it's also a come first serve, first come first serve basis. So when the year starts, register as quickly as possible because we cannot reserve a space for you. So just be sure that you do that. And then once you're at UJ, there's Find Your Way Mobi site. That's everything you wish to know about UJ is in that site. From beyond your graduation, what happens to you after you don't leave the UJ family, by the way, you're stuck with us. But at least we can provide some opportunities for you beyond UJ. And then the services that are available for you at UJ. Once you're a student, there are all sorts of things that kick in. And there are administrative support, there are services, there are, example, bus services, PsyCAD, emergency service and contacts, there's tips from other students, etc. So I don't know, I just love UJ. UJ is a great space. It's a fabulous place to be in. I think it's a fabulous time to be a student at UJ because I think you learn about future trends, how to prepare yourself for the eventuality of being a teacher that is digitally able and capable of serving the needs of our students going forward. So thank you very much, Siwa. I think if I look at my watch, I've spoken so long now. I don't know if anybody else has an opportunity to speak. So I'm going to hand back to you and I'm going to stop sharing immediately. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bachelor. I myself want to go to PGCE at UJ. After that comprehensive presentation, I really want to be your student. Dr. Bachelor, thank you so much for your time and thank you for the comprehensive presentation. I do have questions for you that I would want to, let me tell the truth. I had questions prepared for you, but then you decided to answer all of them in that presentation, and I'm happy. Thank you so much. That was great. We have a question from Jillian, and Jillian is asking, hi, Dr. Bachelor, is the part-time program an online one?
Okay, Julian, no, the program is not online. It's still a blended learning program. However, there is an innovation that I did not tell everyone about. But in 2023, we will have a school-based student-teacher program where students will be placed at or can be placed at schools and then work at the school as an intern for the whole year. And they do their PGCE in an online mode. So there will be selected schools and UJ will go in a memorandum of understanding with those schools. So it's only the student or school-based student teachers that will be able to follow an online PGCE. But that is only going to be piloted in 2023. We already have that mode in the foundation phase. We're quite excited about that. Our first foundation phase pilot started this year. We piloted last year, but it's implemented this year, where we have got school-based student teachers employed at the schools, and they are doing an online foundation phase program. So similarly to that, we want to replicate that model in the PGCE, but that will only happen in 2023.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And the next one from Freddie, is it possible to apply across packages? For an example, can I apply for languages and then combine that with commerce?
No. So that is why at UJ you apply in a package itself. So it's important for you, if you want to apply in the language, so there are certain combinations within that package. And that's why I said again, I rely on your graduate attributes to actually go and read through the brochure and then to study those packages. So it's not possible to just to chop and change, no. And the reason
Thank
for
you.
that is because quite often when teachers are employed, they're employed within a department in a school. Like they either will be employed in the economics department or accounting department. So it's not possible for them to then teach economics and English, or those are very diverse packages. So we model the structures at school very much in our programs as well.
And we have another one from Kolani Makubele, and they say I get to register with UJ. Am I allowed to go and do teaching practicals at another province, say Limpopo, for instance, and not Gauteng?
You know, at the moment during the pandemic, that was part of the emergency arrangement that we had. That given the lockdown conditions, our students could not travel across provinces, and we had to make that arrangement that they would be able to do that in their own provinces, but not in normal circumstances. Let's put it that way, because we still, as lecturers, need to go and visit them at the schools themselves, so that we can evaluate them and assist them and mentor them. That's not possible if they do the will in their own provinces. So this has been extraordinary arrangements the last 2 years. So I can't see it going forward anytime soon.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Last one, I think it's a follow-up question from Golani again. How many weeks or months are teachers supposed to be at their schools doing practicals?
All right. I think it's important at Utah, I think it's 10 weeks, but that is also broken down into, there's 7 weeks that you need to be continuous, and that is in the latter part of the year. It's usually in the August, September timeframe. And then you do a will of about 3 or 4 weeks early in the year. But continuous for 7 weeks. One of them is continuous for 7 weeks, and the other is in early in the year. But I think it's a period of about 10 weeks. I need to just make sure to go double check. We used to have 12 weeks, and we reduced that slightly. And then, of course, during the pandemic, other rules apply. So we don't know necessarily how that's going to go forward. But there's a policy document that, again, use your graduate attributes. There's a policy document that you might want to go and look for. It's called Mr. Tech, the minimum requirements for teacher education qualifications. And in there, it's specified that you must do a certain number of consecutive weeks at school for you in order for you to comply with all the work integrated regulations. So it's not just something we wish for you to do, it's actually gazetted. So we just need to comply as a higher educational institution.
That was all the questions I got so far for you, Doctor. That was an incredible presentation, and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Now, I would like to go forward. Now that we've heard from the program manager, Dr. Jacqueline Bachelor, we have two rockstars who are JGF candidate fellows, Charlotte Magwa, who is doing PGCE senior phase and FET in English, and Umpela Kuhu. She's also doing PGCE senior phase and FET English. I would like to bring upon Charlotte Gala. Charlotte, please come in and welcome.
Hi, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear and I can see you. Charlotte, now that you are at UJ and you went through the application process with UJ, can you please share with us and the audience how that experience was for you?
It was a great experience. It's important to note that I've been a UJ student for quite some time. I started my undergraduate there, so I was quite familiar. I applied online, which I believe is one of the most easiest and fastest ways. It's also free, so that really helped. in my process of applying. It's quite interactive when you apply. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. If you have any questions for Charlotte, you can drop them on the chat and she will come back later to address those questions. I would like to bring upon Mpela right now to share with us as well. Mpela? Hi, Mpela, you made it home. Thank you so much for joining us. Mpela was traveling earlier and she was connecting on the road. We are happy that she is home. Mpela, Charlotte has shared their experience with their UJ application. I know that you did your undergrad at the University of Limpopo and now you are at UJ. Can you please tell me about your PGCE experience in a new university and in a new province, I would assume? How was that for you?
Very much for having me. My experiences or my experience of transitioning from UL to UJ was a very tough one, and it was very difficult. I don't want to lie to you, because of the diversity, the way the universities do things. It's very unique, and some can be challenging, some are okay. But with the help of my PO, which is you, I found it very easy because I had somebody who I went to each and every time things were burning for me. That is one thing I also like about being a JTF candidate, because you get this support that other bursaries don't give you, right? So transitioning from UL to UJ, it was a very rough transition for me. I don't want to lie, but for now I am okay, and then I am coping.
Thank you so much, Mpela. For anyone who's not at UJ at the moment and would like to apply and start their PGCE at UJ, what tips can you give to them? It can be one or two.
Like Dr. Bachelor said, you need to apply on time. And me being a very agitated person, I love following up. I always send emails. And what I love about UJ is that they do not ignore students. They do reply to emails. You need to do some follow-ups or ask any questions. There is this lady I used to email, and I always refer people to her. Miss Rachel's, she always answer emails. And then that's what I love about UJ.
Thank you so much, Mpela. Charlotte, do you have anything that you want to add as you have graduated from UJ and doing your PGCE?
Yes, no, I agree fully with Mpela. Apply early, that's the most important thing, and also follow up. UJ has a really great student portal, ULink, where you can actually check on the progress of your application, and you can be able to check in on things like financing and registration. And also, they also have really great information on financing in terms of bursaries, because they also have lots of little bursaries themselves within the institution. So I think students, prospective students, if they can familiarize themselves with ULink, it will be such a great help, because everything is there, and there is kind of like an interactive way of communicating with those people that are, will be able to help them. So yeah, ULink is honestly the best place for students to be able to check their progress as they go through the application.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, and thank you so much, Mpela. Now we'll continue. Your tips are very, very useful, I am sure, and thank you for sharing with us. Dango, so you applied to UJ and you applied to JJF, and if you want to know if you're eligible for the JJF fellowship, you need to have a South African ID. You need to be a permanent resident or resident of South Africa with an ID number. Academic results, you will need to be in the final year of your undergraduate degree or have graduated with a bachelor's degree or higher. you intend to study a PGCE, and you will need to study your PGCE at our partner universities, the University of Cape Town, University of Pretoria, Wits University, or the University of Johannesburg. You must be sure that you want to become a teacher. You will need to qualify as a teacher. And for the first 2 years of your teaching, you will be in our newly qualified teacher program. We continue to support you even when you are working. You need to be under the age of 30 years for you to qualify. Next slide, please. Thank you, Sihle. Also, something I would want to clarify is that there's two different applications. You will need to apply to the University of Johannesburg and also apply to JJF for you to be able to be funded by us and study at UJ. And our application closed on the 30th of July. We have extended that just for you so that you can tell everyone that you think would benefit for this information. And just know also that we do not have any influence on your UJ application. They have their own processes and we have our own. So the only thing that we do is when you get accepted at UJ and you get to be funded by us, that we now in partnership with UJ and JGF. Next one, please. Oh, that means we have come to an end of our 4-day series of your PGCE roadmap for change. And so that you know, you can find all the recordings of the episodes on our YouTube channel. If you don't want to miss anything by JJF, please do subscribe and you'll find all the information that you might need about us. With that being said, Toskosi, yaphela iwebinar, and thank you very much. I will then tata indambo on this pose kukala. Over to you, Kala.
Thanks, Siwa. I have not much more to add other than a +1 or an echo of what Siwa said. And I guess just a little bit of affirmation as I have shared previously in these episodes. If you're interested in being part of the JGF community, it all begins with an application form. You need to let us know who you are. And then only from there can we take the conversation forward. And you can then join part of the movement of what JGF is doing here, particularly around positioning teaching as an aspirational career. So thank you, Siwa. Thank you, UJ, Dr. Bachelor, for being here, and of course, our wonderful candidate fellows. And as Siwa had said, this brings us to the end of our webinar series. And please stay safe, stay responsible, and make good decisions. Bye-bye, everyone.